But in the top of the third, Hamilton gets a hanging knuckle curve, perfect on it, and that is deep, doesn't have enough. So as we get into the 2026 season, before we get into any gameplay, I do want to go ahead and cover some of the players that we added, kind of review last episode if you're new to this one, and then also some of our top prospects. So let's go ahead and jump into our top prospects around the organization. So looking here, our top man, Chris Patton, the #1 prospect in our org, an A potential, which is absolutely insane. I think it was at 90 on the dot. 68 overall, the 21-year-old righty 6'1" pitcher out of Venezuela. Looks to be dominant in a few years. His ETA for the MLB is 2026. Not sure if he'll make it up this year, maybe next year, but he looks to be very good, man. If he progresses pretty quickly like we hope he does, he'll be in the majors in no time. The 4-pitch mix of a 4-seam, 2-seam changeup and slider also grades out really well, especially since he has a little bit of speed differential between those fastballs. Velocity's there, the break's there. The home runs per nine is good. He has to work on his pitching clutch and control, but outside of that, he looks to be a good player. Next up, we have Ellis Strickland, another first-round draftee and a compensation pick in last year's first round, so we got him a little later in that round. But he is a 22-year-old starter. He's a little short, 5'10", the righty, 66 overall, B potential. I think that was high 80s. I think mid 80s, 83 to 84, I think. He has decent stamina. His walks per nine and home runs per nine are pretty good. But again, pitching clutch and control is another issue for him. Velocity's all right. Breaks very good as well. Another 4-pitch mix, but instead of a slider, he has a curveball. We may add a pitch here and there to some of the prospects, but we'll touch base with you all. He's projected to be in the MLB in 2027, but again, I think he might be a year later as well. Pitchers take a little bit longer to develop. We don't want to rush these guys. Edgar Caro, we've talked about him. He's #4. And then George Lambar Jr., we got him in a trade from last season, so I'm very excited about him. He may be a trade piece down the line. I'm not really too sure. He is a shortstop. We already have our shortstop of the future in Hamilton, so he doesn't really have a spot. He may be sliding a shortstop. We may move Hamilton to third base depending on how it goes, but you know, Lambard has good fielding, so maybe he slots in there. But he doesn't have a secondary position right now, so his fielding will probably drop in that. But for now, he's going to be in the AA ranks. His projected year is also 2026, but again, I don't foresee that happening. Micah Bell at 6. And then Brian Logan, a 3rd-round pick from us in last year's draft. Pretty interesting. He has very good stamina, very good hits per nine, mediocre per nines elsewhere. And then again, pitching clutch, very, very low. Control's a little better, velocity's not there, and then break is a little bit to be desired. But the 6'3" lefty's 21, doesn't have the greatest potential, but if that can bump to low 80s, get that B ranking, that'd be very good. But I'm excited about him. He was a 3rd-round pickup, so, you know, not anything too crazy there. And then moving down to Robert Fitzgerald, this is a little bit surprising. We were able to get him in the 2nd round. We kind of took a risk on him because we didn't have him scouted at all. So we took a little bit of a risk on him. He can play anywhere in the infield, which is a plus for sure. He's a 6'5", 19-year-old righty batter who has very, very good 80 grade power, 69 power against lefties, which is exceptional. That contact isn't too terrible as a prospect in the low 40s range. The power versus righties is also pretty good in that 52 range. The fielding isn't terrible. Could be a very serviceable first baseman, but for now we have Naylor. But Naylor can play right field, so maybe after we lose Springer, and a couple years down the line after Fitzgerald develops, maybe he can get into that low 70s, mid to 70s, maybe even high 70s overall, and be a nice first baseman that can hit for power down the line. We need a power hitter. We don't have one in the org. He would be a great fill-in for that spot. But flipping back to the top 100 prospects, here you can see that Chris Patton is a 6th man in all of baseball as a top prospect. You can see Kai Crum. We actually debated on drafting him in the 2nd round, but we chose to go with Fitzgerald instead. I'm kind of beating myself up over that because he's an A potential player, 69 overall. Looks to be a very good closer. The only issue that we saw with him was that his velocity just wasn't very good, and that concerned us as a closing pitcher. Also, we have Loizaga, who honestly will probably regress here in the next few years, so it would have been a good pickup regardless. So looking through here, we can see who else do we have in the top 100. Getting through the top 50, we don't have anybody. That's a little bit of a concern, but we have 2 players here at 55 and 56. So Thomas White is actually left over from the Marlins. I did change his potential to C to align with our requirements during the expansion draft, but he's progressed to the B. So let me know in the comments what you all think about this. I felt like switching him to a C was fine, but if you all think I should release him, let me know in the comments and I will. I'm not too concerned about it. We have a ton of good pitching anyways. He could be a trade piece down the line, I'm not sure, but if you all want us to release him, that's fine by me. But we did change the potential to a C before last year when we drafted, and he just bumped up to a B. So that is what it is. And then Ellis Strickland at that 56 ranked. And then moving down, do we have another one? Edgar Caro at 72. Do we have a fifth guy? George Lambeau Jr. will round us out at 96. Again, could be a trade piece down the line. I'm not really dead set on him moving to the majors. He doesn't have a spot there. So if we trade him this year, maybe package him with a couple other guys to get a top, position player, I wouldn't be too upset about it for sure. But going ahead and taking a look at our starting lineup and pitching rotation before we get into opening day. Here we go against the righties. We have Hamilton followed by Keith, Naylor, Peterson, and Springer rounding out our top 5 against righties. Interesting, we have a ton of lefty bats in this lineup, so against righties we should be good. And then Conforto, our new signee from this year, he looks to be very good. We signed him for a couple, I think $12 million for 2 years. He's not going to be in our long-term plan, but could fit in well for us for the next 2 seasons. And then Caratini, who we brought back, and then Polly's making his rookie debut as a third baseman, platooning with Rosario. And then DeLuca to round us out with that little bit of speed at the end of the lineup. He's there for fielding for sure, but he does have that speed, so if he does get on base above Hamilton, we'll have 2 fast guys back-to-back. And then against lefties, we have Blanco, Keith, Naylor, and then Conforto in that 4-hole, and then we're followed by Rosario, who looks to be very good against lefties, 83 both ways in contact and power. So if he connects with one, it's going to go a very long way very quickly. Caratini at 6, Peterson at 7, which is interesting because he's going to be a day-to-day player. He hasn't been a day-to-day player, I think, in a while. He wasn't one for us last year, so this should be interesting for sure. Followed by Hamilton in that 8 spot, and then Springer in that 9 spot as well. Again, like I just mentioned a second ago, we have a bunch of lefties, so we're going to be lefty loaded. But the interesting thing about our lefties is that they're good against their own side. So you can see Keith here, he's better against lefties than he is righties. And then also the same thing for Conforto. They're both better against lefties than they are righties. So that's going to be interesting. Could be useful, but we'll see down the line. Hopefully they'll grade out and we'll have a good lineup. I think we definitely made an improvement over last year in our lineup. Maybe not an insane improvement, but with our requirements where we had to be below our $160 million budget and keep our signings below 83 overall with the weak free agency class last year, I think we did a very good job. And then moving on to our pitching rotation, I've mentioned this a few times. Cantillo will be our opening day starter over Savale. We were able to sign Savale in free agency this year for 15.9 million. He's our highest free agent signing. We did overpay for him slightly, but what are you going to do? It is what it is. It's not anything too crazy there. And then Reed Detmers followed by Cabrera. Cabrera was a little bit disappointing. Not even a little bit. Very, very much disappointing. He had a 8+ ERA through like 10 starts last year. It was just not very good. He was able to settle down to get it down a little bit, so that isn't too bad. But that 94 innings, again, he still hasn't hit 100 innings in his career in a season. We're going to need him to jump up that year. If he can get to 100+, maybe 156 to 160 innings and drop that ERA to around that 4, maybe even below, he could bump back up to be one of our top pitchers, maybe even our ace down the line. But for now, Cantillo will hold that spot. And then rounding out our top 5 will be Ryan Nelson. Moving on to the bullpen, we'll have Andre Palante with Feltner, 2 starting pitchers that we'll have as our long relievers. Both did well last year. Both had sub-3 ERAs. Palante had a 2.86, and then Feltner, he had a 3.03 ERA, so just above that 3. Both did really good and can slot in our starting rotation if any of our starters go down. And Santos did have an injury last year, only performed in 31 games after having only 8 games a year before. But he had a sub-5 ERA. Again, ERA is not the telltale sign for a true relief pitcher, so it's not the biggest concern that it is a little bit bloated. But I'm excited to see him back in the bullpen, followed by Baker and Stewart. Both had good years. Our bullpen was very, very good all season long. They kind of fell off towards the end, but what do you expect when we had to use them so much through the season? And then our setup man is going to be Stalmont, who we brought back this year on a 1-year deal for $5.6 million. And then we have Bummer as well, who's going to be our lefty setup guy. And then the man of the bullpen, the closer, Jonathan Loaizaga. He was actually able to get the Reliever of the Year award with his All-Star nod, his first in both of those categories. So he had an exceptional year last year, his 31-year-old season. If he can maintain and just keep progressing for the next 2 years, we did re-sign him before free agency for $15 million for 3 years. So not a bad deal for a guy that just won the Reliever of the Year award. So I'm really excited about his prospects. He has a few more good years, 3 more years till his 10 years of service time. So I think he's going to grade out and be very good for us over the next few seasons. But looking around the division, you can see that our division is going to be very, very, very difficult to compete in. We have 3 top-tier teams in the Braves, Mets, and Phillies. All of them have a very good starting rotation with a bunch of good bats, all splinter throughout their lineup. And so you're going to have the Braves, who has a starting pitching rotation of just absolute dogs. You got Spencer Strider, Chris Sale, Ronaldo Lopez, and then Spencer Schwellenbach, all 83 plus pitchers. So they're very good. Then moving on to the Mets, who were able to pick up Dylan Cease in free agency and Ranger Suarez from the Phillies. So they stole a good pitcher from the Phillies. And they also picked up Clayton Kershaw, which is very interesting. So they have a ton of Cy Young winners all the way sprinkled through here, but they're very good. They also have Juan Soto as well. They also picked up Jeff Hoffman and then got rid of Edwin Diaz. So, man, they're just scary all the way up and down the board. These are your reigning World Series champs, so they may go back-to-back. And then you have the Phillies. It doesn't get any easier. They're headlined by Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. And then you move on to their starters. They don't have 4 80-plus guys. They only have 3, which is still pretty difficult. Aaron Nola, Christopher Sanchez, and Zach Wheeler. Again, the Mets stole Ranger Suarez. So, I mean, it's just a scary, scary division, man. I don't know what we're gonna do. Hopefully we have a chance to make a run. Even competing for that 3rd place spot in the division is gonna be very hard. All 3 of these teams are top 10 in the MLB. 2 of them are top 3. We have 2 of the top 3 teams in the MLB. The other one's gonna be the Dodgers, obviously, after they just signed Kyle Tucker this offseason. But then we have the Nationals, who actually just traded away one of their top prospects in James Wood last season. So I don't know what they're up to. So I'm not too worried about them, but they're still to be worried about. They're technically ranked higher than us in the MLB. So it's going to be interesting, but I think we have a good chance to definitely hold our spot at the 4th spot, but even try to compete and maybe steal a 3rd space spot, maybe get a wild card. Not sure how that'll work out. Probably not. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into opening day. For opening day 2026, we will be in Texas taking on the Rangers, as the newly signed Zach Gallen will be taking the mound for Texas. We'll be facing him. He's moved from the Diamondbacks a little bit east to the Lone Star State, but facing him will be Joey Cantillo on our side, the sophomore year player in his 2nd year of work. Was able to have a good season. But first up, we will have David Hamilton facing Zach Gallen as he gets a nice pitch called from the umpire. A little bit of a smaller strike zone on that 4-seamer. But to start us off for the 2026 season, Hamilton will get on base. Back-to-back walks as Keith gets on base as well, which brings up Naylor to bat, who swings and misses on the high fastball. And that'll be strikeout number 1. Strikeout number 2 comes on a nasty curveball inside on the bottom right-hand corner against Peterson. And out number 2. And then Springer strikes out to complete the 3 in a row. After 2 walks, Gallen settles down to get the last 3. Back up here in the bottom of the 1st, Cantillo comes on with a nice, nasty circle change below the knees for a strikeout on Langford, but it won't follow into the 2nd at-bat as Simeon will single into the outfield for the first hit of the day here. But up against Corey Seager, the 2025 MVP, and he will go down swinging on a slider down and away. 2nd strikeout of the day for Cantillo. Back up here against Jake Berger, and that'll be another strikeout. So 6 strikeouts through the 1st inning for both pitchers. A very pitcher-heavy outing today. But up in the 2nd, Conforto goes deep to right, the new signee, but it'll die with the back against the wall. Almost off the wall for a big hit. Just a couple feet short, and he's not too happy about that. Almost started his tenure with the Stars off right. But that'll bring Tarantini up, and that'll be an opposite field bomb. 397 off of Gallen, the 1st of the season, the 1st homer of the game. 397, 103 off the bat for the switch hitting Caratini as he starts his 2026 campaign off right and puts us up by 1. A huge swing from the catcher who we just brought back last year, as we'll get another look here from the Google Cloud StatCast. And you can see it there as it goes deep to left. But up here in the bottom of the 2nd now, Cantillo will be up against Aldelis Garcia with 2 outs. And that'll be a single through the infield to keep the inning going. Switch hitting catcher Jonah Heim. And that'll be a line drive as DeLuca's able to cut it off into the gap. So it'll hold Heim at 1st and hold the runner at 3rd. So there's no runner coming across. But to get out of the inning, that'll be a nice little liner to the first base side, as that'll be the third out. No harm done here by the Rangers. But in the top of the third, Hamilton gets a hanging knuckle curve. Perfect on it. And that is deep. Doesn't have enough. And that'll be a jump. No catch. 425. Second homer in back-to-back innings. The first of the season for the shortstop, as he goes 425 to deep center field. Only 98 off the bat. Didn't get too much a hold of it, but it was a perfectly timed pitch. A little under it, and he's able to poke it out over the left field wall as Keith is up against Gallen. 57 pitches on the day, and that's a grounder right to the face, but Gallen's able to stay with it. Close play at first, but that'll be an out, as Gallen will be pulled from the game. He doesn't look like it's going to be a lasting injury, but it does give him a black eye, so they will bring on Eovaldi to get him through the rest of the middle of this game, as Gallen was almost to 60 pitches through 3 innings, as they pull him here with a injury. Thankfully, he's not injured, but Cantillo with another strikeout on Langford on the high heat, up and in. 4th strikeout of the day for the young lefty. As we'll get another look here, Langford just completely whiffs on it, as Simeon's back up for a second at bat, and that'll be his second hit of the day. 2 for 2, as we have struggled today so far with the second baseman. But Seager back up. He's able to get one through the gap between second base and shortstop, as Simeon will round second base, and he'll be safe at third. No throw there, so we'll have runners at the corner. A little bit of hot water here for Cantillo. Can he get out of it? But that is Berger through the infield. That'll score 1. Runners at first and second now. Only 1 out here in the bottom of the third, as Cantillo will have to get his feet back under him. A good start to the day to Hamilton. Double play ball, not able to make the first at second, but he'll throw it on to first base and get the first out. 2 runners in scoring position now. Smith up to bat. That'll be deep to right field. Does Springer have it? He does. He's able to lunge out and snag it for the third out to keep the damage to just 1 run. Conforto up against Eovaldi, as he has a high bouncer through the infield for his first hit here as a Nashville Star. As we move on to the 5th, we'll be pulling Cantillo for Josh Stalmont, as Cantillo's pitch count was getting high. We don't want to work him too hard early on in the season if we're planning to make a run to the playoffs. We have to prepare for that. But bottom of the 5th, 2 outs. Jake Berger, a hot one to the third corner. Pauly's able to knock it down, but safe at first base. A close play. If he was able to glove it there, it probably would have been an out, but a good way to stop the run from coming in. Back to Pauly at third goes Young, and that'll be an easy play. And we're out of the inning. Still a 2-1 ball game. But George Springer up to bat, up the middle. Great timing on it on the splitter. And we'll have a runner on with 2 away in the top of the 6th. And that'll be the second time we've got a hit against Eovaldi today. But Conforto back up here. Full count. And he goes down looking. And that'll end the top of the 6th inning. But back up here with Stalmont. Naylor is able to glove it down the first base line for out number 1, as Stalmont comes back with a nasty sinker for a strikeout against Garcia, as Heim goes to shortstop. And that'll be a 1-2-3 inning to end the 6th, as the Rangers will bring on Josh Spores to face Caratini, who went yard earlier in the 2nd to give us the first run of the game. He goes deep here again. Doesn't have enough at the warning track, but it will die about 10 feet short of the wall, as he almost had his second of the day. But Pauly's up. The rookie goes through the infield, over the infield, into the grass for his first hit here of his rookie campaign. That is a very, very good hit to just go back up the middle. Great timing on it, as Aluka comes to the plate. Diving stop by Seager, not able to glove it. No play at second, and everybody's safe as they roll that one a hit. The scorer's decision will give another hit. Back-to-back hits here for the Stars, as we take a look back to the 3rd inning, when Hamilton was able to give us a 2-0 lead with a homer deep to center field. The shortstop looks to bring his power up from last year, where he had about 15 to 16 homers. If he can be a 20 homer guy, that would be exceptional there at that shortstop position. Hamilton up with 2 runners in scoring position. That'll be right to second base, as the infield was playing in That is an easy toss over to Berger at first for the second out, and he'll get out of the inning unscathed. Hamilton with a nice play all the way into the middle, but a low throw. And the speedy feet by Langford will be safe at first. Runner on first base for Stalmont, and that'll be a rip into the right field gap as Springer's not able to cut it off. Langford with a ton of speed rounding third, and that'll be an RBI double, the third hit of the day for Semien. The second baseman is 3 for 3. We have not been able to get him out today, but bouncing back against Seager, that'll be a nice sinker outside for a called strike 3. But back up with Berger as that'll be a single through the infield, but Springer gloves it, makes a nice throw as Simeon's rounding third. And that is a close play, but he is called out as Springer with a nice arm out there. The Gold Glove recipient last year in right field is able to mow him down at the plate to save a run to keep this game tied. As we will go into the 8th inning as we will pull Stalmont from the game. He had a good outing today. Was only gave up 1 run in 2 and 1/3 innings of work. Had a couple strikeouts. Very dominant day for him. We will bring on Santos, who was pretty injured for most of last year. I think he was down for about 6 months. But he'll be back today as they rope one down the line over the base, called fair. And that will break the tie with 2 outs in the bottom of the 8th. As Jonah Heim gets his second hit of the day as we look at it here on the review cam. And it is a game of inches, man. Right over the bag. Great call by the umpire as he was able to see it right in front of his face. But Caratini back up. He goes opposite field again. Does this one have enough? Another big hit. That'll be another fly out. He's had some big swings today. 1 homer, just not able to get the other ones over the fence. As DeLuca will go down swinging. And that will be the end for this one, as we are almost able to get it here against the Rangers. And unfortunately, that will do it for us here in Texas. I think we played a decent game. We only gave up 3 runs. We did get up a ton of hits, but we can hopefully settle those down going into the future. Gregory Santos will get the loss. He gave up that so close of a hit to Jonah Heim that scored a run. David Hamilton and Victor Caratini both homered today. Everybody else didn't do that great. A lot of strikeouts today, so we're going to have to work on that. Hopefully we can keep it going. Marcus Semien, 4 for 4, a double and an RBI, an absolute insane day. We could not get him out any way we tried, but we will move on to the next one. Let's go ahead and jump back into it. But as we have advanced here, 21 games into the season, there's a few things we need to catch up on in the meantime. So over the last month or so, we've had some injury issues, which has been a very big kink in our hose. We've had a few top guys go down. You can see one of our top prospects, Kele Rosario, has gone down. He's on the 10-day. Shane Sasaki, both AAA players, down on 10-day. But Daron Blanco is down with a broken forearm for 2 months. He'll be back in 47 days. So we went ahead and picked up somebody else, which is pretty unfortunate. So we were able to pick up another player through free agency, which has been a great addition to our lineup so far. And that player is Mauricio Dubon. He is batting .387 through 31 at-bats, only playing a platoon system with Johnny DeLuca out there in center field. But he looks to be very good. He has regressed a little, but we picked him up, and I think he's actually going to be a player that might stay around for a few seasons since he can cover basically all the positions on the field. A supreme utility man that will be very beneficial for us down the road. We did have to offer him a 2-year contract for $4.8 million. He wasn't settling for anything less, so we went ahead and offered him that because we didn't need to fill a position, but I also really like that he can play basically anywhere on the field, so he can give anybody a break when they need a little blow throughout the year. So I think he's a very good addition. We'll have to work around some players here and there when Blanco comes back. I think I made Demote Caro. He hasn't got a single at-bat in the majors. He's our 3rd catcher in the majors, which is not typically how teams are organized, but we didn't have anybody else better than him to bring up. So we brought him up. But as it sits right now, we are 3rd place in the division, only 3 games back off the Phillies, only a game back off 2nd place. And honestly, we've had a good go of it, except for the last about half week. We've lost 3 straight to Pittsburgh, and we'll play our 4th of the series here. And on the mound will be Aaron Savali, who's actually had an exceptional year this year. Coming up in 4 starts, he was able to go 3-0 in 26 innings of work, a 1.71 ERA, and that has been very exceptional. So he's been able to hold it down. We may reorganize our lineup here in a few weeks, because you can see here Cantillo is up there around 5.5 ERA, which isn't going to cut it as our ace. He's been struggling here as of late, but his whip isn't too bad, so hopefully he can drive down that ERA here the next few weeks. But one thing we are going to do in this episode before we get out of it, we are going to be changing some of our rotation. The first thing we're going to do is going to be moving Reed Detmers to the long reliever role for Ryan Feltner, and we're going to be demoting Feltner to the AAA ranks, and that means we have a spot open for River Ryan. The 27-year-old hasn't had that good of a go of it in the AAA system, but I think he should blossom here soon. He's 27. He has a full year of service time, so his clock is now ticking, and I think we just need to move him up to the major league ranks. He was able to come up last season, and in 23 games of work, he had 18 starts and had a sub-5 ERA, which isn't too bad for one of the first-year players. Hopefully he'll figure it out. In his recent games in AAA, his last game, he had a 1.59 ERA and 5 2/3 inning of works. He did get kind of blown up 2 games ago, but hopefully he can manage that when he's getting called up, because his number is on the call-up sheet, and he will be making the move to the MLB. He will be our 4th-day starter right behind Cabrera, who actually has not had a terrible start to the season, way better than last year where he was above an 8 ERA. So yes, we moved Ryan up. It might be a little bit of a wonky move, but I think it should pay dividends down the road. I mean, Detmers and then Feltner just haven't been good this season. So I think giving Detmers some work out of the pen and then moving Feltner down may reorganize some things. But everybody else on our bullpen has done well. Baker has a little bit of an inflated ERA, but outside that, we've done pretty well. And then Loaizaga has also continued his dominance from last season. He already has 3 blown saves this year, but he has 6 saves in 9 games of work. But coming out of that opening day loss we saw just a few minutes ago, and kind of where we're sitting at with our lineup and our pitching rotation, we've made a couple different moves here and there that hope to pay dividends. But going down into the rest of the season, we kind of have a fork in the road and kind of the path we want to take. We could kind of just sacrifice this year and have another rebuild year, focus a lot on scouting and push there. But again, as a young program, we want to get a lot of postseason experience off very quickly for a lot of our young players. So throughout the rest of the series, we're able to use that to our benefit. So on the trade block, there are actually a bunch of players. You can see here some top names like Jose Altuve, and then some smaller guys like Josh Smith, Shane Baz, Johan Avito, Nick Lodolo, and Zach Wheeler. I don't think we're going to go after a pitcher, but Josh Smith is very, very enticing. An 80 overall third baseman who's only 28 years old. You would still have 2 years of control of him after this season that you might be able to sign him to a longer term deal. He has pretty good quirks. His fighter one and the bad ball hitter are both very, very good. He's very good in clutch situations, and he's also very good at hitting pitches out of the zone, which is very exceptional. He can play first base, shortstop, and left field, so he can switch around where you need to. And he was a Silver Slugger in 2024. This year hasn't been so hot for him, batting .250. He was batting .250 in the last 2 seasons as well. He's been able to step it up from those 2023 numbers, but he hasn't really shown much. His slugging actually isn't too bad this year, hitting for a little bit more power than he has. Again, this is a small sample size, only 28 at-bats. But with his stats, the way they look, very good contact from the left-hand side, very serviceable fielding, nothing that's going to blow you away by any means, but that clutch being at 86 will also help him, especially for a person that's probably going to slot in the middle of our lineup. And that's because Josh Naylor, Jock Peterson, and George Springer, and then also Michael Conforto have not really hit the ground running here coming out of the offseason. So maybe bringing in Josh Smith would help here. It would allow us to put Caro down in the minors to get him some more at-bats because he just hasn't seen the field at all, and I don't want him to regress from not playing. So with that being said, we're going to go to the drawing board and see what kind of offer we can offer the Rangers to pick up another big bat in our lineup. So looking here, this is the trade we came up with. We are trading Enny Rodriguez and Thomas White to the Rangers for Josh Smith. You may look at this and think this isn't an even trade, but I would disagree because looking at the Rangers catchers, they don't really need a catcher for this season, but looking at the contracts, both these guys are going to be free agents going into the 2027 season. They may have to pay Jonah Heim some big money, so they may not want to keep him around, giving them Enny Rodriguez, a 25-year-old catcher with 4 years of team control after this season, and he's going to be a cheap ad for them. He's a switch batter, 70 overall, still has a little bit more room in that potential, and can also play first base. And only being 25, I think that's good. If that wasn't enough, we're going to throw in another player, a starting pitcher, a young player, 21 years old, a B potential player to bump that up even more, to make that more of a give and take. Because I just don't foresee a circumstance where it'd be a 1-for-1 swap. You would definitely have to throw in one, maybe even two prospects for a player like Smith. I would love to throw in another player to give more of a salary swap, but I don't think we're going to do that just because we're already offering a pretty serviceable amount. Thomas White, a B potential player who's already progressing a little bit this season, 69 overall, a lefty that's 6'5", 21. He's very good, but again, we didn't draft him. He was already on the Marlins. We demoted him to a C potential originally before we started the series, but he went back up to a B. So he's going to be a trade piece for us here. And this also works out for us because he is a younger player. He still has 2 years of team control after this arbitration. We'll probably try to offer him a longer term contract, which will fill out that left side of the infield, which will give us basically our whole infield kind of figured out for the next 3 or 4 or 5 years even. So I think this is a great trade for us. I think we're going to go ahead and submit it and move on from here. And so from there, that'll give us a ton of freedom to kind of rearrange our lineup how we see fit. So what we're going to do is move Josh Smith against righties into that 5 hole. We moved George Springer down to the 8 hole. And we took out Graham Pauley for Josh Smith, which is kind of unfortunate because Pauley has been on a little bit of a heater here. And then versus left-handed pitchers, we're going to have Josh Naylor move down to the 6th spot. He hasn't had a great start to the year, and he's also not that good of a hitter against lefties. Eggy Rosario to the 4 hole. He's very good against lefties. He has 83 contact and power, which is really, really good. And then you have Josh Smith is going to be our 3 hole hitter. Not as good as power as Rosario, but his clutch at 86 could carry him if Dubon and Keith are able to get on base ahead of him into the scoring position. This adds a lot more viability to our lineup for the rest of the season. It really is going to help us kind of broaden our bat ability and just give us a little bit more versatility throughout the lineup. But with that, that'll be the end of the video. I appreciate y'all tuning in. You can see we improved from 25th overall to 24, so at least we're making some improvements with our trades. But I hope you all enjoyed today. Let me know in the comments if you all think that trade was an equal trade. I personally do. I think we kind of probably gave up a little bit more than what you may see, but you definitely needed 2 players for a everyday MLB player. But anyways, I appreciate y'all tuning in. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in episode 9. And a huge shout out to Chris, our very first premium channel member. Thanks for all your support, man. It's really appreciated.